Anyway, in the house this morning, we have Mr. Edgar Hernandez. He is a District 2 candidate for the Yakima City Council. Good morning, Edgar.
Good morning.
Do your friends call you Edgar, or do they call you Ed?
Edgar.
Edgar, all right.
Or the majority of my family members call me Junior.
Junior?
Yeah, because my dad's Edgar, and hey Junior, can you grab me a glass of water? Hey Junior, can you pick up the garbage?
Lots of to-dos, all right. Well, who is Edgar Hernandez? Give us if people miss our first interview, who are you, family, stuff like that. Who are you?
So, like I said, my name is Edgar Hernandez. I'm running for Yakima City Council in District 2. I was born in Los Angeles, California. When I was 2, we moved over here to Yakima. My parents became migrant farm workers and started working over here in the ag industry. And ever since I've been here, I went to Whitney Elementary, Adams Elementary School, went to Yakima Adventist Christian School, and I graduated from Davis High School, and then went to college at YVCC for about 2 years. Took a year in business management at Western Governors University. I am married. I married my wife in our local church, Abundant Life Church. It's right across the fairgrounds. And have 2 wonderful kids. I have an 8-year-old kid, a boy who's autistic, and I have another special needs kid. She's 6 years old, and it's a girl.
Oh, really? We love kids. I mean, man, we just had a great radiothon with our Children's Miracle Network radiothon. I hope you're getting lots of great services here. I hope you're finding those services here in our valley.
Yep.
For your kids, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We definitely are. We tend to their services that they receive usually is in Children's Village.
Yeah.
Right and on. Also, by the way, I am also on the Parent Advisory Board on the Parent to Parent program at Children's Village.
And we're going to have you on the radiothon next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Win, lose, or draw in politics. That's such an important thing to the community. We'd love to have somebody like you join us and talk about it.
It is. And currently right now we're working, as a parent, I'm working with Children's Village, Parent to Parent program on the trunk or treat for the kids there at Children's Village, October 31st. So.
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they were giving money last week in our radiothon, that's what we were saying. I mean, if some of the money goes to help stuff like that, right? You know, I mean, for kids that can't roll up to your front door, they'll be able to go to the trunk or treat. Excellent. All right, good stuff. Well, why are you running for city council? What pushed you into this role?
I grew up in Yakima. Well, my whole life. I'm 40 now, but I've been here for 38 years, almost 40 years. And I really wasn't following politics until probably, my mid-20s and 30s and so on forward. And there were some good things that happened in Yakima, some bad things. But currently, I'm focused on our current policies, and our crime, especially our crime that just started again, going back up, the stats, and that's what I'm trying to find solutions for, give back to my community and give the people a voice, District 2, but in Yakima as a whole.
You've experienced some of this crime yourself, right? Your car got shot. Tell us about that. What happened?
That happened about 3 weeks ago on 14th Ave in Meade. So my wife's birthday was on September 29th. And the next day, she went over to her sister's house to pick up a late present, and this was at 9:30 at night. And they're remodeling the house. They're getting ready to sell it. There's nobody living in the house. Door was open, warm weather at night, and we're getting ready to leave, and I was holding my 6-month-old nephew. Oh. And as we heard what sounded like gunshots, pops, at first we thought it was fireworks, but as it got closer, I peeked out the door, and the guy that was doing the shooting saw me, and he just started shooting some more, spraying bullets all over the neighborhood there at night. And my wife was smart enough to grab the kids and her sisters to grab them, take them to the bathroom, and put the kids in the tub. And I kind of froze. I was, had the baby with me, and I leaned against the wall. I was kneeling down, got my phone, dialed 911, and at the same time, while I was with the operator on the phone, the only thing I can think of is the guy saw me, and he did a U-turn probably minutes later, but I thought he was gonna park on the driveway at the house and just come in and just pop a few shots at me. That was the worst case scenario, and that's just going through my mind. I mean, that was just while I was like, hey, 911, yep, you just witnessed a drive-by shooting. I was processing over here, what can happen next. So that was scary, and found a lot of bullet casings that night. They took out a slug from my car.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty bad. We were all shook up.
Just imagine. I mean,
and after that,
that leads us right into the question about gangs. And I mean, I don't
so some of the policies that I'm running on my campaign, it's the economy, safety, kid safety in schools, homelessness, infrastructure, and keeping Yakima clean as a whole. But I reverted back to the crime after that, because that happened on 14th Avenue, and I don't really look at crime stats or even hear I don't live over there in that area. I live in District 2. I live on South Natchez Avenue.
Right.
So when that happened to me, I reverted back to crime, and I only had one thing in mind, and that's tackle the crime in my district and Yakima as a whole.
Yeah.
And it is tough, but I just went back to that policy, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do something about this, because we can't keep going on like this. I've ever since I was a boy. I grew up in South Natchez as about 6 years old, all the way through high school, and I keep telling people, it's normal to me. Hearing gunshots at night, my wife and I, it's just normal, and I shouldn't be saying that. I shouldn't.
No, that's right.
It shouldn't be the norm to hear gunshots, or even right behind the alley, it has somebody shot up right there in the alley, or somebody. When I was 8 years old, and you can find, I'm not sure if you can find this in the Yakima Herald, but when I was 8 years old, this was in the late 80s, there was a homicide right in front of my house. I remember there was 2 cars that crashed. Man he got shot a couple times, and he was laying dead right there, just around on the cross section of Adams Street and South Natchez, and my 8-year-old self, I'm just looking at it,
Wow.
wasn't traumatized or anything. It was just like, wow, this is crazy. This is right in front of our house, My brother saw that too, and obviously my dad. I think he was trying to look for help, but it all started back then for me.
Do you believe the chief of the YPD? The YPD is doing a good job now. Do you think that they have a plan? What would you do to how do you stop drive-by shooting? How do you stop this stuff? You got a plan?
Yes. So with the police, personally, I've never had any confrontations. I've never had any problems with our local police. As a matter of fact, I personally, they've done a good job serving, our community.
Right on.
It's just the people that don't want to, get along with the cops. I think it's something personal on their behalf. But with me, and my family, we're really, confident. We're really, we get along with the police, And as far as solutions, the gang task force, I think like 15, 20 years ago, they were at its height. I think that they were doing a great job.
We had 2 full gang teams.
Yeah.
And emphasis patrols and stuff like that.
And now they're still doing a good job, just pinpointing who the bad guys are, the names. Oh, these guys. Then sometimes they don't mention the names, but they're like, yeah, this guy. We have a record of him, being in gangs and so on. And we hear this in the news all the time. But I think they're not as they were about 15, 20 years ago. So we're missing something there. We need more police presence, that's for sure. Doorbelling in the primaries, and now they haven't changed. A lot of residents, a lot of the constituents there that support me, they haven't changed at all in opinion as far as getting more police to patrol the streets. And as far as solutions, besides increasing police presence in the streets, there's 2 of them that I'm trying to implement. One, and I talked about this before here, it was the faith-based programs, in which in the 90s I saw it work, and it helped a lot of gang members get off the streets. And lately, I've been not debating, but I've been, just trying to talk with a couple of people that have questions about that. And, the majority, they're like, well, Edgar, it's got to do with the government. If it's a church deal, It's got nothing to do with city council, and they're absolutely right. It's got nothing to do with government or city council, but it has everything to do with finding a solution
Bingo.
for gang members.
Got to do what you got.
Crime, drugs, and that's starting faith-based programs, and I truly believe in them. Just because of experience. Victory Outreach, like I said, was one of them back then.
Yeah, we know Victory Outreach well.
And it just disappeared. It's diminished. And we used to have put on skits and dramas for young people. I remember the last time we had one was at the Yakima. It was here in Yakima. It was at Davis Auditorium.
Yeah, I remember it.
And this was probably around the year 2000, actually, or maybe before. But we packed the whole auditorium with rival gangs. We had, at least 10 rival gangs in that auditorium. The scary part about that is you don't know what can happen.
Yeah.
There was police officers out there. They're always present. The police officers are always present because in these dramas, the groups, they actually use, prop guns. They use, those guns. They're look
Blue
real.
guns, yeah.
Yeah. And they use them, and just in case an accident happens, the cops are there, the EMTs are there, but there's police there. And I think they did a really good job back then doing that, being present at a couple of those programs. But it was scary. But a lot of those rival gang members, a lot of them actually turned their life around because of those faith-based programs. And then now, I don't think a lot of people know now, but Madison School, I just found this out because one of my nephews is hanging out with them, Madison School. They actually take the bus and they take them sometimes to churches, church services, just trying to keep the kids off the streets. And I can't believe my nephew was one of them, and that was awesome. And as much as a family member can encourage, kids or somebody in your family like that, that's pretty cool. And a lot of people don't know that. So one, two. I want to implement a motivational program where, and I'm not sure if I actually talked about this last time, but what I want to do is I want to bring companies like Google, like Microsoft, like Nintendo, like, these top-notch, Silicon Valley, companies to Yakima and do like a little mini expo career program in middle schools and high schools, because these kids, they need some type of motivation. A lot of kids these days, they like playing video games, they like watching movies, and they like comic books, but a lot of them don't even know how to get there.
All right, but let me ask you this: do you have to be on city council to do this?
No, you don't. You're right. You don't. But city council, once you're in city council, I believe that as much as you have a big of a platform you have in city council, I think it's more important to point that out because I can start doing that now. City council, looking at it the budget wise, money. I think we can use some type of money like that to actually start implementing a program like this. YB Tech.
Is that the city's job?
No.
Where does the city's money come from?
Right.
So.
Right. No, that's a good question. Money, it can be a different issue, but the issue that I'm trying to actually have right now or point out right now is the fact that a lot of our kids are lost and they need help, and if it's not so much of a city issue, our city should care about that.
All right, but again, since you're running for city council, all that you're saying is I have no problem with concern for kids and something needs to be done. I just wonder if the voters are going to think that your city council platform is the right way to go to make that happen.
Right.
Truly, if you're on council, there's a certain amount of, quote, gravitas that comes with that position. So when you call Google to say, come on over, whether they take the call or not, but when you do and you say that, I'm 2nd District Council person Edgar Hernandez, then, will they, or did I say her
well,
name?
Well, yeah.
Get your name wrong?
Well, look at it this way, Dave. So, I'm talking about motivation, and in reality, our city is dry as far as having entrepreneurs and opening up businesses in Yakima, which is a big deal, especially trying to revive downtown, for example. you don't know if these kids is going to be the next Bill Gates and stick around here in Yakima. And guess what? That kid can probably open a corporation here in Yakima to stick around in here. And where's that money going to come? I mean, where the money that the city receives is going to be from what? The company, property taxes. Taxes from the company. That's how you get money here.
No,
I mean that's one way, at least. That's one way.
Sure.
And we don't have that. We don't have a hub for startups or anything here in Yakima, and that's what we need.
All right, okay, but we sort of do in the what started as New Vision, and is what the Yakima Economic Development Group now, and I think the city does have an economic development branch to it. But all right, but so we see where you're at in regard to those sorts of issues. Can you have time to stick around with us through more of the hour? All right.
Yeah.
So we'll take a break for news here at the bottom of the hour, and then we'll ask you about some of the things that council's already into, and what's your take on that. So, A, thanks for being here. B, stick around, and Lance will have our news right after this, and we'll continue our conversations with the candidate for District 2. When you need to know one place to go, my friends, hey, and you're here. And all those who aren't, you don't know what you're missing, so somebody should tell them. So recruit for us, won't you? Get out there and say, hey, if you're listening to KIT lately, they've got some good stuff going on. And if you haven't filled out your ballot, you're going to want to tune in this week and part of next, because they're talking to the candidates.
That's right, and we continue our conversation today with District 2 Yakima City Council candidate Edgar Hernandez. Edgar Hernandez.
Looking to replace the vacationing Jason White.
Yeah, really. That's a good way to
So,
put it.
obviously, I mean, he's left his mark on the district in that we now have a issue on the ballot about having to show up to meetings as a direct result of there being nothing in the city charter to force people to attend. But a letter to the editor a while back in the early part of the election was suggesting, you should vote for this block of candidates or not vote for this block of candidates. And one person, I don't think that it's I don't know how it plays out in the district, but one person said, oh, Edgar is just a disciple of Jason White. Do you want to clarify that one way or the other for us?
Yeah, I don't know what that means or is supposed to mean. Disciple, I have no idea. I want to be a disciple for Jesus, but not Jason White.
Well, I think there's quite a bit of difference between the two.
Yeah, big difference. Yeah, Jason, no, no, I don't know what that person's thinking of. I really don't. I'm not hanging out with Jason right now. I'm not talking to him a lot as I used to. He's just doing his thing. I'm doing my thing, and
Okay.
I'm a really busy guy. So yeah.
Well, I think that when someone feels strongly enough, now it doesn't give them credibility, but if someone feels strong enough to put it in print and put it out there, then it should be addressed. And you did, and we appreciate that. Moving on to other questions. Lance, you had sort of a list of...
Yeah, I do.
I just jump in when I go, what?
I know.
What did he say?
Color.
All right, so go ahead.
Color. A bunch of things. What voters? I take it voters. You're knocking on doors, and crime is probably right up on top of the list, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
District 2. Yeah. I mean, we do the news here. We see a lot of the gang crime that happens there. Do you, I guess.
It's young Hispanic guys for the most part. Edgar, does that feel any different to you? I mean, people are people, and God loves all children. All of that. I know where you're coming from as a guy, but as a quote privileged white guy, I see that, and I wonder, is there some way that you're going to be able to stand up and pull that portion of our community more under control? These young. I mean, we talked quite a bit about the programs you would hope to implement and all of that.
It's sad. It really is. It's really. Yesterday I was online. I don't know. I think I was the Yakima Crime Stoppers popped up on my phone, and I was looking at all the wanted people. Wow. I mean, a lot of Hispanic criminals.
Yeah.
Some of them, which are also, the fact a lot of them are illegally here in the city, but a lot of them are Hispanics, Mexicans, and you're right. Growing up, what I remember is a lot of the majority of the kids that actually join gangs are Hispanics. Hispanic kids, sons of Mexicans. I want to say other people from different countries like Puerto Rico, but the majority, the people that we have here in Yakima are from Mexico. They're Hispanics, and so I can tell from experience, a lot of them that I grew up with that joined gangs, I wanted to get inside their heads and see what goes on in their heads as far as joining gangs. A lot of the parents, Hispanic Mexican parents, they're here for one reason, and they're here to work in the fields or in warehouses. And sometimes they just work so much to make ends meet, and the kids get left in the house. And I was one of them. I was my sisters and brothers were one of them where we stayed in the house. I was babysitting my own brothers and sisters, just because my mom and dad were out there picking apples or thinning apples or pruning. They were doing the work, and from that standpoint, I understand why they were doing it. They were doing it to put food on the table, give us a home, a bed, pillow, everything. But some of these kids don't have anything else better to do. So what do? They go out, they start hanging out with thers buddies, starts with playing video games. Hey, you know what? Why don't we go over here, and just get some candy? But we don't have any money, so let's steal it, So, and it all starts with that type of influence. And a lot of my friends, family members, people, when I knock on doors, you're right about, a lot of people talking about, hey, Edgar, can you do anything about the crime? So a lot of people are actually interested in these programs, but they're asking me, how do I get my kids not to hang out with the wrong people or get them out the streets, So it all starts at home,
your parents must have done something right, right?
I guess I told you guys before, I'm very conservative, and I grew up in the church my whole life. It's a Protestant church, right across the fairgrounds.
I guess that's what they did. They got you in church.
Despite them working, we knew what was good and what was bad. Even a 10-year-old kid can read what's good and what's bad. Stealing's bad. Picking up rocks and throwing it at cars just for fun, it's bad. But a lot of these kids didn't have anything else to do, so they start going and hanging out with the wrong people, and that's how they get hooked up in gangs, And that was back then, and earlier I was telling you guys, that the game has changed in the streets. It's not anymore you're wearing red or you're wearing blue, you're in my turf, you're in my street, get out of here, I'm going to shoot you, beat you up. Now it really comes down to, and I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to get into a big mess or trouble. Some criminal out there probably trying to, waiting for the person to talk bad about them. But
we have a lot of criminals who listen to this show.
The Seattle Times, released an article a couple of months ago about the cartel, a particular cartel from Mexico that has actually infiltrated the Northwest. And Seattle is a big city, and so they're doing operations there.
Sure.
But it just spread here in Yakima.
Sure.
Now it doesn't say middle of the state,
Yeah.
but we know that Yakima's right in the middle.
Oh yeah.
And so these kids are now being used as foot soldiers by this type of organization. And I hopefully the people that are listening to me right now, this is something serious. And this is. My family, they're Mexicans. My entire family, they're right now. They support closing down the border just for this very reason. This is crazy because this is the very reason why a lot of people, seek asylum over here because of what's happening down there. So guess what? It's happening right now, right before your eyes. And nobody bats an eye. I have a friend, not going to give his name away, but really close friend that I grew up with, and now he actually worked for the YPD for many years, and now he works for the DEA. And we were talking a pretty basic conversation. He was telling me about this stuff, and I wasn't surprised at all, to hear from him. But it's here, and this is why,
just
as a candidate, I really like to, just pick it up a notch, and really, do something about it.
Yeah.
But these Hispanic, and the majority are Hispanic kids, and you're right. Hispanic kids. It's just is that sense. It's that's the reason why. It's because a lot of the parents they're not home. They're working.
That's the really contradiction too. Because you come here for a better life, and you have to work hard for that better life, and in the process, your kids drift into a worse life. I mean, it's really it's really backwards. In terms of providing a better life for your kids at home when you can never be there, and we all know it does take that parental involvement.
It is, and like I said, it saddens me because growing up in church, we had this kids club in church. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Pathfinders.
Sure.
Pathfinders. So that's that's related to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but we as Assemblies of God, as a denomination, we had this thing called Royal Rangers. And it was exactly like Pathfinder, like Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
And I remember when we first started that program in our church, I was about 10 years old, and when it stopped, I was probably around 12. And I had a lot of buddies that I grew up with in that church that were in the same program. But once that program stopped for various reasons, what I started seeing was a lot of my buddies started not coming to church, just hanging out with the wrong crew.
Sure.
And a couple of those ended up dead, sadly. And it's on the news too. You can find the names in the news, and it broke my heart because these kids were like my brothers. They were like family, and losing them to gangs, shootings. It's probably one of the toughest things that I ever had to endure. And a lot of them ended up turning their life around, which currently I am working with. A few of my friends that I went there, and they turned their life around, and now they're trying to also start programs like this. So I'm working really close with them, but that's the reality of why, and yeah, I mean, parents came here for a better life, to buy a nice house, nice cars, have everything for what, if it's just my kid that's in middle school can go on and start shooting people, because of a color crayon, moving drugs, and that's a sad part, and a lot of the Hispanic families, they know this, and I've talked to many people out there when I'm doorbelling, because some that are citizens don't know any English, so I talk to them in Spanish, and in return, they talk to me in Spanish, and like, hey, I have a son that's not doing too well, what can you do about it? Do you have any programs? And the resources that I have on hand, I usually give it to them there, I give them the names, okay, visit this place, visit this website, you're going to find a lot of information there that the Yakima currently has that can help, families that have troubled youth in their houses. But it's a tough situation, and I'm really blessed. My brothers are blessed, that we didn't, go that route. My dad's boss, his name was Jay Sloop, Dr. Jay Sloop, and he was one of the first OBGYNs here in Yakima, and he sponsored us, my brother and I, to go to a private school after Adams Elementary School.
Wow.
For the reason, because
Great.
My dad was afraid that we were going to join gangs. This was back in 1993.
Not everybody has that opportunity, but yeah, that is a great move. Edgar, we're about out of time here. 30 seconds to go in the show. Give us your quick why people need to vote for you.
Vote for me if you want to do something about crime. I have the solutions. Vote for me if you support your local economy, small businesses. Vote for me. I support no income tax. Screw taxes. I'm really against that.
You could end our show that way. In fact, you just did.